Hi, my name is Eddie Wilson, the founder and owner of Think Realty, the world's largest real estate investment media platform. Also, I own the American Association of Private Lenders, the world's largest aggregation of private lending capital. Each and every week, my life comes in contact with some incredible people. I want to take you on a journey as you get to see behind the scenes and learn more about them, from billionaires to politicians to media moguls and more. I'm going to take you with me behind the scenes for Titan Talk. Get ready for Titan Talk.
A Titan is one who has an ability to visualize what others do not see, the tenacity to create opportunity where others have failed, and the resolve to build empires where once there was merely empty space. Tom Meade is exactly that. Sometimes we look for Titan status on the national level, but in the lending world it can be found anywhere. Tom is a Titan of Boston. When it comes to Boston real estate, it's his town. He has found Titan status there by knowing the market and being creative in his understanding of real estate finance and structure. Listen as he gives you the keys on how to own your market.
What's it like working with Tom?
Tom's one of the guys that you love to work with. And I would say with his clients, he is solution oriented. But even with his investors, he's open book and tells it how it is to get them an understanding of what's happening with the business. The one thing I can tell you about Tom is he was born and raised in the South Boston area. And he truly has a unique ability that sets him apart from the national lender landscape by able to go street by street and neighborhood by neighborhood in the South Boston area and be able to really put a true valuation on the particular properties. And that's a unique asset to his investors.
So we're like, hammer nails kind of guys.
It's always great when my lender hops out and he's still got a tool belt on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that they can talk your talk.
Right.
Is that kind of the guy that Tom is?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would just say that working in an office like this is more akin to a family than it is a corporate office feeling. I mean, we're all jovial, and especially with Tom because he's nothing but smiles all day long.
So what's it like working with this guy?
Well, I've been doing it for a while on and off, so
Yeah?
not bad at all. No.
I've known this guy his whole life.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yep. It's not bad working for the boss either, he's all right.
Yeah.
It's fun, I'm learning new stuff too all the time from Tommy, so
Yeah.
that's good. I've been watching him for a lot of years now, so.
Yeah.
We're really trying to be as customer service as we can to the borrower. So we kind of say to the borrower that we're their business advisor and confidant first, and we just happen to be in the lending business as well.
Tom, it's really good to be with you in the office today, and it's been awesome to kind of look at your organization as a whole. I mean, I've known you for a while, but to come in and see your people and be able to see deals, it's made a big difference. But if you don't mind, just explain to me what Touchstone is. I know that maybe there's some confusion on how you do deals and stuff like that, and we'll get into it, but what is Touchstone?
I mean, at the base of it, Touchstone is think of it as like a boutique real estate private equity firm.
Okay.
That's just a fancy way to say we make investments in real estate deals, and we do that in a variety of ways. More recently, we've been focused on first mortgage lending, bridge loans, mostly construction.
Sure.
But more recently, we're finding there's a real need in the market for equity capital, restructuring. With the liquidity crunch due to COVID, we're seeing a lot of opportunity more on what we call the sponsor side, where Touchstone would actually act as the developer or co-sponsor of a deal. And so we pick and choose. What I say, I guess, is we pick and choose on the sponsorship side what deals we're going to get involved with on a sponsorship level. Whereas the lending business, like I say, we closed $50 million in hard money loans last year, And we did that with the staff you met here today.
So if I could kind of rephrase it and just see if I'm on the same page as you, Touchstone's kind of the catalyst for all of your deal making. So it's like I'm an investor and I come in and I say, hey Tom, I'm a real passive investor. I just want to put my money someplace that's secure, that earns a decent return. Maybe that's your mortgage pool where you're lending on my behalf. Or if I really am a real estate guy and I go, hey, I want to see the deals, then maybe I get in your mortgage pool, but then also you start sending me those one-off deals.
Exactly right.
That I can get excited about.
Exactly, because what we do is in the pooled mortgage fund, we sort of set a box and we say, okay, look, this is what's called discretionary capital. Investor puts their money in, and then Touchstone underwrites and closes these individual mortgage loans.
Sure.
So that's discretionary, but we try and put a box on it. So you as the investor, roughly what your money is going to be invested in.
Sure.
And then exactly right. Then for our, for the rest of our investor network and some of our preferred developers, we get into these one-off situations where we'll co-sponsor a deal or put in some junior equity, and those generate higher returns. Typically have a little more risk. And that's exactly what you're saying for guys like you who can underwrite a deal by deal basis. Those are the types of deals that might be of interest to you.
Sure. What I love about that model is that you're first of all, your boots on the ground here in Boston, and you know the market. But the thing is what makes me most nervous sometimes about investing in a pooled mortgage fund is that if they end up taking the deals back, that they don't necessarily have the structure to do something with that disposition.
Yeah.
And so for you, you're underwriting the deal going, if I get this one back, it might be something I would be interested in actually taking action on.
Right. Many times we can make more money if we ended up taking it back.
Sure.
And we're not that, sort of what they call loan to own shop. On the mortgage side, we want to make mortgages and we want to be paid back on our mortgages.
Right.
We're not Wall Street guys trying to do real estate deals. We're real estate guys, trying to raise more money to do more real estate deals.
Right, right. Tapping into maybe some Wall Street capital, right?
Exactly, right.
What's the most difficult thing that you've faced in building the business and kind of becoming who you are in the Boston community?
Far and away, it's been scale, right? Typical entrepreneur problem.
Sure.
When I have a little $2 million fund, we're only doing, $2 or $3 million a year in originations.
Sure.
I underwrite every deal. And then it got to the point, once you get outside where physically I couldn't do all the construction inspections that we have now. So starting to delegate, starting to make sure we have the systems and processes and asset management checks.
And so now, a year ago, now you're up to 50 million in originations or close to it. And so, I mean, you obviously did find a way to scale.
Yeah.
And you did make that leap.
Yes, yeah, and it's been a couple of things from a capital perspective. In 2019, we mostly used the secondary market, so we sold off our loans. So from a capital perspective, that's how we were able to ride up that curve like that. Literally, we went from $2 or $3 million a year in the first couple of years of the fund to 26 million closed in 2018. To just under 50 million in 2019.
Yeah.
And we did that with a combination of new capital raise, like I say, and the loan sale model.
Now 2020 hits, and it's the year that it was kind of like every lender's worst nightmare, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, I was on calls with you, and it's like lenders were kind of just scratching their head, going, "Now what?"
Right.
But it seemed like you had structured yourself in a way that it may have affected you and affected your business, but you're still here doing deals, still pushing forward. I mean, we're still looking at new deals today.
Right.
So
right.
You kind of just adjusted because of the structure?
Yeah, and that comes back to that, again, it's such a fancy term, but a truly boutique real estate private equity firm. And so we're not just here where we have to, originate deals into this box so that we can sell them to Wall Street. We're well capitalized on top of that, and we have the ability to put money out in different tranches. We've built an investor base that trusts us and allows us to continue to put money out, even in this more illiquid market.
Tell me, what was your inspiration for scale? There's so many small businesses, entrepreneurs who get to the place where you were at, and you and I had that conversation.
Sure.
And I know others in the industry where you were trying to determine, should I scale? How do I scale? What were some of the inspirations for that? I mean, did you read books? Did you talk to people? I mean, like, where did you find the the inspiration and the knowledge on how to scale your business?
You know, I mean, the AAPL conference, to start, honestly, has been so interesting and fun to be a part of and watch. Like when I went for the first time, probably maybe 6 or might be coming on 7 years ago, I feel like there were as many borrowers at that conference, like looking to connect with lenders, as anything else. And so to see the secondary market guys and all the vendors and all that stuff, and that turn into like a true, you know, private lender, I can go there and get real value, capital sources, you know, just talking to other lenders around the country, picking the brain of you know, some of the guys that you put in the room there. I took a lot of inspiration and asked a lot of questions about scale, because I knew we could always do this like 25, 30 million bucks, no problem.
Sure.
And the question was then, do you take that next ride up? And to my way of thinking, I think Touchstone, as it's structured now, we want to be doing between 70 and $100 million worth of real estate deals annually. These are very manageable. I can still have that, you know, hands-on approach and know every single deal.
Sure.
You know, from an infrastructure standpoint, you know, here in the office to capital raise, I feel like that's, you know, sort of my very manageable. So I hit the middle, I guess, is what I'm coming to. You know, you go to the AAPL now, and you have, you know, some guys who want to be billion-dollar lenders. You and I have talked about this at length. I think this is a very local game. I call it, especially now, it's trench warfare. Like we have a $30 million portfolio that we're asset managing on behalf of the hedge fund we sold through to, and like that's heavy lifting. And I feel like, you know, kind of being in that range, we'll be able to continue to do that heavy lifting and provide the service and the outcomes, you know, that both our investors, by the way, and our borrowers have come to expect.
When you look at 5 years down the road, you just said, you know, I'd love to get to 70, 80, 100 million annually. You know, that to some degree is scale, you know, especially locally, that's scale.
Sure.
Especially when you were talking about 2, 3, 5 million, you know, just 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Right.
You know, you really have already technically scaled. You know, if scale is 10x, I mean, you've already kind of gone like 50x.
Right.
You know, so you know, you have, and it sounds like you kind of know where you're headed. And it sounds like, you know, owning the Boston market is still a piece of that, you know, the outlying maybe Boston area. So tell me just a little bit about 3, 4, or 5 years down the road.
Yeah, I think we'll continue to do our first mortgage bridge lending. That's sort of our bread and butter. And I think that's where $50 to $60 million a year in new loan originations will come from. I think, you know, if I think about where do I want to go from here, small commercial bridge lending, I think, is a huge opportunity. That like sub $10 million area, those guys just, they're not serviced by the big banks,
right?
You know, Bank of America and everything else. And the local banks are just so difficult to deal with. Once you get into any kind of construction piece or bridge or value add, the banks have a hard time, you know, wrapping their heads around that. And so you have very good sponsors, very good, you know, developers that you can still get really nice returns on. You can still put it out at, you know, private money rates, and you can put that money out at scale. So I think commercial bridge is something we would add. But you hit the nail on the head. Like we can do all the real estate deals we want. You know, let's call it inside the 128 belt. Like if you look at Boston, there's, you know, this 128 ring around the city, and you know, we can do $100, $200 million worth of real estate deals, I think, very easily
Every year.
Yeah. And then, you know, over time, longer term, let's say, you know, I love to continue to build, you know, an equity fund that's a long-term owner of, let's say, you know, apartment buildings.
Sure.
And kind of, you know, get into that buy and hold, you know, type of strategy.
Because personally, you're already in the buy and hold space.
Yes,
and
that's
you've
right.
Got some personal
Starting to
holdings.
accumulate some units, you know, and that's been a very nice, because we see the deal flow, you know, and there are some of these deals that'll come, and whether it's, you know, the developer's a little squeezed or he can't get it over the finish line or whatever it is. So yeah, we've built up a little, you know, Touchstone has some buy and hold assets that, you know, provide a good baseline for, you know, everything else that we want to do on the operational front.
All right, cool. Well, I think the best thing to do is just go see some projects.
Okay.
And we go downtown Boston and kind of give you the tour there.
Let's check it out.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Good.
So did you grow up in Boston? I mean, is this home for you?
Yeah, yep, just south of Boston here, you know, a few miles south is a town called Quincy, Mass.
Okay.
And that's where I was born, raised. I went to public school in Quincy, and lived there right up till I was moved out after college. Back.
So you grew up here. What were your parents like? I mean, white collar, blue collar, like what type of household did you grow up in?
So both my parents worked like in human services. My mom was a registered nurse. She was like a program director for like a residential program for autistic young adults, autistic. And my dad was a nursing home administrator. So it was like, I like to say, I didn't miss any meals as a kid, but like we didn't have a lot of extra money.
Sure. So very much like middle America,
Exactly.
middle class,
Yes.
not a ton of extra, but but not starving.
Yeah,
either.
great family. No, absolutely no complaints.
Did you
Awesome.
have any like introduction into construction at all? I mean, like what kind of stoked that passion? in you?
Yeah, well, I mean, so when I was in 5th grade, we moved into this big like Victorian house built in like 1800. And my parents had some work done to it before we moved in, but then
Sure.
we were able to, with my dad, I did a bunch of little projects around the house over time too.
So it kind of sparked that
It definitely did, yeah.
interest a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice. So you went to school here, then college here? Did you go to college?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
So Stonehill College is like 30, 40 miles south of Boston. I had done a year in Argentina when I was actually a junior in high school.
That's
I was
awesome.
in that the Rotary International Exchange Program.
Sure.
So I kind of was done with being away.
Yeah.
So I went to college local, and while I went to college, I had an internship the summer of my sophomore year at Merrill Lynch.
And so that kind of got you started. So you're a finance major, but then that really kicked off your financial career.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was that internship was like literally started in the mailroom, and then was able to get a full-time job at Merrill right out of school.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're no stranger to this. This is, I mean, you like the construction too.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Yeah, it brings me back to, I left Merrill, and literally this is what I did every day. I'd be the guy at first. I'd be the guy here, sweeping up at the end of the day,
Yeah.
packing up the tools, and like I said, that guy I worked for, we talked about it before. He was great. I learned, everything about construction. He took a lot of time and kind of, taught me all the details.
Yeah. So when you walk into a place like this and you're thinking, do I lend on it? Am I developing? You're looking at all of it. I mean, you're seeing construction costs. I mean, you're kind of calculating everything from
Yep.
capital costs to construction costs.
Yeah, even layouts,
Yeah.
right? Like, this will sell. This is a good layout. This builder knows what he's doing. Oh, this framer's a hack.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
sure.
you could tell a lot by, way place gets wired up and plumbed up and
Yeah.
and framed out. This is a 2-unit building, and basically you can see he's got some of the old. This is the old sheathing,
Yeah.
and then you've got the old brick party wall there.
Yeah.
And in different areas he'll leave some of that brick exposed, and this will get converted into 2 for-sale condos.
2 for-sale condos. So this isn't a buy and hold. This is
No, yeah, this is fix and flip,
Yeah.
exactly.
So for you, you're lending on this deal, and this is more of a short-term investment for you.
Exactly right. Yeah, so we write 12-month notes. This is like our bread and butter. This
Yeah.
is what we do in the lending fund.
Yeah.
All day long. This is what we closed. $50 million worth of these loans last year.
Got it. What are the numbers on something like this?
As far as the construction costs and
Yeah.
whatnot, so this type of building you probably pay between $1 million and $1.5 million for, depending on the footprint size. And then he has 2 for-sale units. The one upstairs, we'll walk through it next, is complete. I think it's on the market for $1.6 million.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
Very cool. So you're growing this business in the Boston area. Was there any kind of pivotal moments in your life where you felt like something drove you to do it? I mean, anything happened in your life that just was like a catalyst?
So I was working for a national mortgage company in 2014. So I remember like it was yesterday. So New Year's Eve 2014 going into 15, I get a phone call on New Year's Eve. No kidding, I got my 2 kids in the back, like 6-month-old daughter and 2.5-year-old son. And we're pulling up to our New Year's Eve party that we're going to do for the early evening, and I get a phone call from one of the guys I was working with at the time, and he let me know he was going to move on, from that company, and so I was sort of like junior guy on the team and didn't leave a place for me.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, looking back, you say challenges. I really like to try and view them as opportunities, and looking back now, I can see it really was like. It was a lot of uncertainty. I wasn't quite ready to leave, at that time. But I had a development project going on the side, and by that time I had also launched the fund just a few months prior. And so, it just worked out perfectly. It's kind of like the universe gave me a kick in the butt and said, go do this touchstone thing full time now. I caught the capitalist bug probably from like one of my uncles, the guy actually who got me my first interview at Merrill Lynch. And so like he likes to say, so like my sister, for example, so I have two older sisters and a younger brother. So my older sister is like a licensed clinical social worker. But my uncle told me, he's like, look, the world needs people like your sister, and his wife is the same way. She's like a special needs teacher. And he said, Tommy, the world needs both types of people. People like your sister and my wife who do the work, and guys like us who are going to write the checks.
Yeah.
And so, that's been a big part of drive towards success too, is eventually at some point, being able to give some back.
You've said multiple times as we've been talking throughout the days, that you just weren't cut out for a 9-to-5, cubicle job. Is it your uncle that put that entrepreneurial spirit in, or like where's that entrepreneurial? Right, you're like, I'm going to go do this on my own.
Yeah. So I think part of it was I told you I spent a year in Argentina when I was a kid, my junior year in high school.
Sure.
I was on the Rotary exchange program. And I think what that experience did for me was it really made me realize I can sort of learn things and do things literally from the bottom up. I had to relearn everything, right? Like language, different culture. We ate dinner every night at 9 o'clock. Like just a complete shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And so I just, it's kind of innate in me. I want to learn things from the ground up. I want to understand, how things work and why they work certain ways. And so that's how I've kind of treated those jobs along the way, was almost like an advanced education. Every time I went to work, after I had that experience at Merrill, where I kind of realized, I'm not cut out for this. When I did go back to work for the, institutional real estate shops, I treated it as, a learning experience. As I'm going to go, I'm going to learn how the big guys do it, eventually with the eye towards doing it myself.
Sure.
So, not really sure where it comes from, but it's, I think it was probably, dusted off or shined up, that experience kind of in Argentina, you better figure it out.
Sure.
like I just landed in a foreign country, and I'm going to live here for a year. Of course, I had a host family and all that, but
sure.
Definitely a different set of experiences.
Yeah, maybe gave you the confidence enough to just continue down that path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Tom, what I love about you and I love about Touchstone is I grew up in a real estate family, and it feels like I'm back home doing real estate deals. I love that you love Boston, and it's evident that this is your town. And that's what I love about your business is you in this pursuit of scale and becoming a Titan have never left home. Like you've actually done it here, and you can see the results of who you are in this community, and you see how a Titan doesn't necessarily mean some national level person. It really feels like you've created this status here, but for the people that you love and the community that you love, and so I just want to commend you for the work that you've built here and the company you've built here, because to me, if I were to be a Titan in your industry, I'd want to be you. And
wow.
So
I
appreciate that and appreciate what you've built here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for spending the time with us and
Glad
showing
you
us
guys
the
came
town.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Greatness is a matter of choice, not a matter of chance. Tom has shown us that you can become a Titan in your own backyard. He's shown us that with the right education and the drive to roll up your sleeves, you can own your own market, scale properly, and become a Titan. Thanks for watching Titan Talk. I'm Eddie Wilson.